Well, hi. Today is Tuesday, October 29th, 2024. Time for another morning coffee. My name is Todd Studer. What a day on the 100 block in downtown Council Bluffs last night. If you have a young person, chances are you were on the 100 block because it was a trick-or-treat night. Up and down the street, they blocked it off, and it was a ton of fun. All kinds of kids and their parents were dressed up last night. It was a pretty cool event, and I never heard the final numbers of how many were actually on the 100 block last night. But holy cow, it was full. Parking was at a premium, and it looked like everybody was having a great time. I had talked before on an earlier episode about how I do these, that it is recorded the day before, sometimes just the night before, and then released the next day. So even though it is October 29th, for me, it's still yesterday, October 28th. And I also have debated on just how much of this I wanted to do. And I'm going to start off with today's coffee mug. And this is, it's a fairly inexpensive mug. I found it at one of the dollar stores in Council Bluffs a number of years ago. I paid $1 for it. That's why I have it. But this mug reminds me of my dad. And he loved to grill, really loved a smoker. I think that he went through 4 or 5 of those smokers. And also golf was another big love of his. But this made me think of him. And being October 28th, today's the anniversary of my father's passing. He died 4 years ago. And I thought I'd tell you a little bit about the story of how all of that came to pass. And again, it's the point of this is not to be depressing, but for me, it's actually a story of hope. So I want to fill you in on a little bit about this. First, the background. I didn't see my dad a lot growing up. I'm sure many of you have heard the term parental alienation. That's what happened with me. And I didn't get to see my dad maybe a half a dozen times before the age of 16. So we had a lot of catching up to do. And it was never really what I would consider a great relationship, but we did the best that we could. And, you know, I love my dad. And it was 4 years ago, and it was actually October 1st when I called him just to check in on him. I would call him about once a week back then. And he told me he wasn't feeling well. And he described the symptoms that he had. And he said he was thinking about going to the doctor. And I said, well, stop thinking about it, get going. Well, he waited another couple of days before he finally went to urgent care, and they instantly sent him to the hospital and couldn't figure out what was wrong with him. He was in liver failure, and they just couldn't figure it out. And eventually, because they weren't really treating him for anything, he was just in the hospital, they sent him home. Well, then you're familiar with a hospital, I think it's in Massachusetts, Johns Hopkins. They had sent blood work there, and they were able to make the diagnosis. My dad had angiosarcoma. It was a very rare cancer of the blood vessels and in the lining, and it had attacked his liver, and that's why he was in liver failure. And from the time that I had that conversation until he passed was 4 weeks, October 1st to October 28th. And I remember the last 2 weeks that Dad was on Earth, I called him every day because I could sense that it seemed like every time I talked to him, he was fading a little bit. And the last time I talked to him, he was really struggling. He couldn't think of, his brain was kind of shutting down. But I could tell that he had something very important that he wanted to say. And it was, I was talking, and he just said, listen, I need you to listen to me. I said, Dad, I'm listening. He said, no, listen. I said, all right, Dad, I'm listening. He said, I love every last one of you. And I mean every one of you. And that was because he had kind of a falling out with his sister. And he was talking about his sister, that he wanted to make sure that somebody let her know that. And I did. But when Dad passed, he passed in Georgia, and I was on my way down there, and I didn't make it in time. We were in Georgia, but hadn't made it all the way when my brother called and gave us the bad news. And it took about another hour and a half before I got where I was going. And by that point, I had all of the negativity that may have been left over from it was gone. It was just gone. And I was left with nothing but positive memories and a very clear image of what my dad taught me. And again, I didn't have him growing up, but he still taught me some lessons. And in those half a dozen times or so, one time we went fishing, and I remember I told this story at Dad's funeral. It was I gave the eulogy, and because this is what I do, I speak for a living, and I thought that would be the last thing that I could give my dad, so that's why I did it. And uh, a lesson that he had taught back then to me, and I don't know, I think I was 8 years old, 7 years old, somewhere in there. I wasn't very old. And Dad and his father, we called him Granddad, and Dad and Granddad took us fishing, and my brother and I, and uh, I didn't know how to tie the hook to the line. I still barely know, but at the time, I had no idea how to tie the hook to the line. And Dad pulled me aside, and he said, "Watch close. I'm only going to show you this once." Well, that was not true at all. Dad showed me that a lot of times, but I was a young boy when he was doing that, but I still had this sense that he was teaching me something that had been taught to him at one time. And my grandfather was right there. And it just kind of felt like something was being passed down from one generation to the next. Something as simple as tying a hook to the line. That I have the ability to drive a nail straight because of my dad. He used to build houses when I was in high school, and I worked with him through the summer and learned how to swing a hammer. And it's because of him that I know how to do that. It's because of him that I know that if you cut on the wrong side of the line when you're using a skill saw or a table saw, the board's not going to be the right length. And that was something he taught me. I played a lot of golf with Dad. I only beat him once, and that was only because it was a par 3, and I hit like a 70-foot putt. It was just lucky, and that was the only way I beat him. Other than that, Dad passed. Dad was 73 when he passed, and that was the last time I played him was the year before he passed. He was on a bad knee, and he still beat me. And I'd give anything for one more round, but I have his golf clubs here with me now, and I've tried to use them badly. But anyway, that's where this mug reminds me of my dad, and I'm so thankful that what I'm left with is the lessons that he taught, and I have positive memories of my dad, and that's really all that I have. It kind of feels like it was a gift that he gave me. And it was a couple of years ago when Dad was still in the hospital before he passed. My brother and I and my father and my son, we were planning a road trip. We were going to go on Route 66 and take, probably a good solid week and just drive the road and see the sights and kind of, live nostalgically for about a week. And Dad asked me if we could stop at Bloomfield, New Mexico. And as I said, he was in the hospital when he asked us. And I said, yeah, we can stop, because I was trying to cheer him up, because he was just kind of down from being sick. And then obviously we didn't get to go. But my brother, God bless him, sent me part of my dad's ashes. And I took those to Bloomfield. And that's where I left it. And I really felt a connection there. I'd never been there before, but I truly felt a connection there because my dad had grown up there, and my grandparents used to have a cafe in Bloomfield, New Mexico. So it's good memories is what I have left. And I think that it's important to remember these things as, because we all go through loss. That's, I've lost a lot of friends. I have a number of phone numbers that are still on my phone that I can't take out of friends that have passed. And, or my grandmother's phone number is still in there, and she's been gone for, what's she been gone? 5-6 years now. And so it's, I think that it's important to remember, and it's important for us, not, it's to carry on that memory. A recent episode of Campfire Conversations, my podcast, that I did with Dan Olson, the singer for Sack of Lions, a local artist, tremendous guy. And we got to talking about stoicism and philosophy and all kinds of stuff. It's a great episode. If you haven't seen it, go back and please go back and watch it. But we were talking about how, I have a vague memory of some of my great grandparents. One of my great grandmothers I remember very well because she was 11, I think, when she passed. I was 11 when she passed. But other than that, great great grandparents, I don't know any of their names. That's how quickly we're forgotten. That far, we're not remembered anymore. And so I think while we're here, I think it's important to remember those that are no longer with us. And that's what I do on a day like today, on the anniversary of my dad's passing. And yeah, I'm sad and I miss him. But at the same time, I'm very, very thankful that even with everything that had happened and the fact that, he didn't ask for me to be taken away from him, but it still happened. And, I went through a period where, I was upset with him and I blamed him for not fighting harder. And then as I got older and became a parent myself, and I'm not going to go any further into that, but I was able to understand more. And I think that, it's pretty hard out there, but we have family and that love us. And I'm kind of rambling here right now because, as I said, the 28th of October is going to be, it's always going to be the day my dad passed. But at the same time, it's a day for me to remember him. And it's a day for me to appreciate what he passed on. I wrote a letter to him the night that he passed, and I thanked him for everything that he taught me. I apologized to him for the times that I know I wasn't the man that I should have been. But I also know that my dad was proud of me. And I know that I was proud of him. And I know that dad was proud of my brother. He talked about my brother a lot and was really proud of everything that he had accomplished too. So we share that now. And I'm very thankful for that. So while it's a sad day, it's also a happy day because, we've moved past all of that and I'm left with the good memories. So that's kind of a deep conversation to have on a Tuesday morning on a morning show. But, this is, it's life. This is what we go through. And a lot of things have happened in my life that I have to remember and keep everything in perspective. And this is one of the ways that I do it. We all have a finish line. We don't know where that finish line is. And my dad's was 2 weeks after his 73rd birthday. That was his finish line. But I'm thankful, as I said, for the lessons that he taught me. And I'm thankful for you. And I'm also thankful, and after all of this, to talk a little bit about our sponsors, because we've had some wonderful people get on board with this, and we have more coming. We're still finalizing the details so we can get more sponsors on here. And I'm going to tell you about the sponsors here in just a minute, but I also want to brag on somebody. I had talked recently about a gentleman over in Newton, Iowa, named Jamie Grout. He's an old radio guy. He did radio for 49 years. And after getting laid off, Jamie did something that I think should be a lesson to all radio people, because the radio industry is brutal. One of two things is going to happen. Either you're going to get what we call blown out the door and end up on the beach because some corporate people made a decision that, that never met you and suddenly you're off the air, or they work you to death and you end up going 16, 17 hours a day and just can't continue. That both of those things happen because as people get laid off in the radio industry, somebody still has to do the work. And this is something that I experienced just very recently, that there was nobody else to do it. So it fell on me to do it. And, eventually burnout happens. There's only so many days you can go before you just don't have it in you anymore. So that's what the radio industry is. Jamie Grout, after 49 years and losing his gig, decided, I'm going to look into podcasting, which is something that I do. That's what this is. And Jamie looked at the people that he was connected to already on social media, and he asked the question, would you like me to do a podcast? What do you think? Would you listen? Would you support a podcast if I were to do that? He had over 700 people respond, and they all responded positive because Jamie is kind of a beloved figure in Newton, Iowa. And he started doing a podcast, and the businesses started to support him. And because Jamie believes in community, that's his home. And that's where he decided that this is where I'm going to live. It's where I'm going to raise my family. And that's what he did. And the community responded, and the businesses are responding because they know where his heart is. And they know that the podcast that he is doing there, Out and About with Jamie Grout, you can go listen to it, is designed to support the community. And that's what this is. And I know that, today's podcast, kind of a therapy session a little bit, but this is designed to support the community. We want to have local nonprofits on. I had a conversation with a couple of them over the weekend. We're going to get them on very, very soon to be able to talk about some of the updates that they're doing. Organizations and nonprofits in town that are doing wonderful things in Council Bluffs and the surrounding area. It's one of the reasons why I had Brittany on from NAMI a couple of weeks ago before the big annual gala for NAMI Southwest Iowa. I believe in that, and that's what I want to do with this, is to give these folks a voice and let them get their message out, because sometimes it's kind of hard and it can kind of get lost, and especially, with a big giant city right across the river, we can sometimes get swallowed up by that a little bit. And that's not a dig against Omaha. It's just that Council Bluffs has its own identity. We're in a different state. So we need to pay attention to what's going over here and support people that are here. I'm not saying ignore Omaha. I'm just saying that it's important to believe in this community and to support this community. And there's some wonderful small businesses in town, wonderful nonprofits, organizations. You look at what some of, the Community Foundation of Western Iowa, what Donna Dostal is doing over there. And you look at what Brenda Mainwaring is doing with the Iowa West Foundation. And you look at some of the different nonprofits, from Sail On and Fly High with Dave and Cassie Lawrence, and what they did after facing a personal tragedy and turning it in and really supporting this community. They have done wonders for this community. And that's just scratching the surface of what's going on here in Council Bluffs. And that's why this podcast exists. And that's why I would love to hear from you. If you know of somebody that's got a great story to tell, reach out to me, toddstuder@gmail.com. Let me know. I'd love to get them on. And I know there's a lot of folks that are a little bit nervous about hearing themselves. I don't like the sound of my own voice, or I don't want to be on video. Well, I don't mind the sound of my own voice, but I don't like video, but I'm doing it. I'm kind of hiding behind a microphone here right now again, but see, I need to be up here and I'm down here. Please reach out, and I would love to be able to talk with some of these folks. And also, I want to say a big, big thank you to sponsors like Cindy Schmader with Service Master Restorer by Schmader. She has made her mission in life to help folks when they're at their lowest. A disaster has happened. Could be a flood, could be a fire, could be, tornado damage or what have you. Cindy's business is designed to come in and help you save some of those memories that maybe you thought were lost. So Service Master Restorer by Schmader. Cindy's a wonderful lady, and I know that she is a huge supporter of this area. Also, Travis Waldstein, Air Serv Heating and Air Conditioning. He's been on this podcast more than once. Travis is a friend of mine. We love to talk football, but also when you sit down and you talk with Travis about heating and air, or you talk to him about plumbing with Waldstein Plumbing, Travis is not only knowledgeable, but the man has integrity, and he does what he says he's going to do. So that's why I encourage you to reach out. If you have heating and air needs or plumbing needs, get a hold of Travis at Air Serv Heating and Air Conditioning or Waldstein Plumbing and give him a shot. Talk to him, see what he can do for you. We also want to thank Mackenzie with Prairie and Pine Real Estate Group with Keller Williams, Greater Omaha. She is going to be on a very, very soon to be released podcast on Campfire Conversations, and we talk with Mackenzie about her background. She now lives in small town Iowa, and she actually lives out in the country. She has an acreage with her family, but what it is that she's doing and her philosophy, she has offices in Council Bluffs, Omaha, and Lincoln. So when it comes to real estate, Mackenzie Shelton knows her stuff. That is Prairie and Pine Real Estate with Keller Williams, Greater Omaha. And also some of the other wonderful sponsors, including Rick Grabo with Foxco Fabrication. Anytime that you need something done, if you need welding done, this is the best guy to get. And that's kind of the least glamorous thing that he does. He makes some cool signs, and we've got one coming here, and it's going to be hanging up behind me, and I'm looking forward to that. But foxcofab.com, go to the website. You can see this different stuff that they do. I know that they've got some new slate coasters out. I saw they just posted about that last night. So that would be a wonderful gift at Christmas time. And Sue Pitts with Just Sue Creative. She's the one that built my website. And if you go to lushillsmedia.com and you take a look, there's a real world example of what Sue Pitts can do just with website building. She's also great at SEO. She's great at online marketing and to be able to help you with your social media and all of that. So, she's been doing this kind of work for other businesses. She was with the Small Business Development Center for 20 years. Now she's out there doing it on her own. So, give her a call, Just Sue Creative. You can find all of her contact information there. That's just some of the sponsors that we have here. And we also don't want to forget the Best Wrestler with George Ivanoff. You know, if you have a young person that has an interest in wrestling or maybe is already wrestling and you want to take them to the next level, I believe this is one of the best clubs around. And George has the experience from high school at the state level, going up through college, being an All-American, and then wrestling for his home country of Bulgaria in the 2016 Olympics in Rio. Who else could you go to get the best knowledge for a young person to be able to advance in their wrestling career? So that's thebestwrestler.com to learn more about that. I always welcome comments, questions. Love it when you hit the like button. I'm a big fan of when you do that because that helps with the algorithm and that makes it so more people can see what this program is. And we're trying to highlight Council Bluffs. That's the idea, and the surrounding areas. This goes all the way back to when I first moved to Southwest Iowa in 1997, and I went to work for KMA. And I learned very quickly that Southwest Iowa has its own identity, and they really support each other. And I became a big fan of it. And it was that, I think a month later, it was the first time I came up to Council Bluffs, did a girls basketball game at Abraham Lincoln High School. And I've been coming back ever since. And now this is my home. So I am very happy to be able to bring you this program, and very happy that you've stuck with me through this really long soliloquy today. And don't forget, there's a latest episode of my podcast, Campfire Conversations. Tina Bakehouse, she is a communications coach. She can help you find your own voice. She's given 2 TED Talks, and it was just a fascinating conversation that I had with her on a very, very windy day out at the acres. We didn't have a fire. We kind of hid out behind the facility there on the stamped concrete pad, trying to get out of the wind. We could hear the nail guns going off because there was a roof going on at the Schneckloth house. And we could hear a little bit of the music of the crew that was playing over there. There was construction going on. I think the harvest was going on around as well, but we still had a wonderful conversation. So I encourage you to go listen to that, the latest episode of Campfire Conversations. That's going to wrap up this episode of Morning Coffee. Thank you so much for supporting this and for listening and watching. I'm very grateful and humbled. I keep saying these same words, but I am. And thank you so much for your support. And that sounded like a Bartles and James commercial, didn't it? On that note, we better wrap this up. My name's Todd Studer. Have a great Tuesday.